I wasn't planning on doing one of these tonight, but you know how it goes. I don't know how many people are up about. Attention, ladies, gentlemen, and potato chip bags everywhere, as Jello Biafra would say. Yeah, there's been an awful lot of ruck-a-muck going on around about quote unquote specials this year. And matter of fact, I don't want to belittle them in any way, but there's another channel now saying they're doing an Easter special. Now, the thing is this: I give the chances of an Easter special about 5-1 against, because I don't see them throwing off the schedule that much. Remember, I think the last time we had an Easter special for Doctor Who, well, am I crazy, or was it 2009 with David Tennant? I think that's the last time we had a Christmas special. Easter special. So I don't know why anybody would assume that anybody who's telling you there's going to be an Easter special is, telling you the truth, because they've never made an effort to do it since then. And that was mainly done because, of course, it was, Planet of the Dead. That was Easter 2009. That was the one they did with David Tennant his last year because, he is leaving. And yep, that's it. Yeah, Planet of the Dead, definitely. So why anyone would believe that, I don't know. Because, oh man, remember we had a certain other channel out there that was telling us, get ready for this shocker, Christmas special this year, and then Christmas next year, it's going to be a Regeneration Christmas special, and Jodie's leaving. And remember that one? And I don't want to, take down or belittle the entire nationality of the person who said this, because they don't deserve it. But there's never been once anything mentioned by the BBC promising you a Christmas special this year. That has been fan speculation since January 2nd of this year. I hate to sound mean, but it's true. And yet you've had these people walking around all these years blowing smoke, literally blowing happy smiley candy cane up everybody's ass that there's going to be one. And they've never said there was going to be one. So why anyone thought there was going to be is beyond me. But then throw in the heartbreaker that, yes, Titan Comics, and it's not a heartbreaker for me because I knew there wasn't going to be Christmas this year. Well, Titan Comics announced that they're doing a series of comic books that will cover for the lack of a BBC Christmas special. So that kind of confirmed that there's not going to be one anyway, but you all should have already known there wasn't going to be one. Now, people have been making a stink ever since Chris Chibnall came in and said he didn't want to do a Christmas special for that year. You got to remember, the year Capaldi and all that took over, they were doing an entire regime change. That's new producers, new people online, and now, even though you do see a few familiar names here and there, for the most part, it was just about a clean sweep. They even had to bring in, new composer, all that. And so it's not like they could just throw one together. Plus, he didn't want to do a one-off with his new Doctor. Now, somebody brought up Christmas Invasion to me. I go, yeah, but Christmas Invasion didn't involve a regime change. They pretty much knew from the beginning, because Eccleston made it pretty much clear that he was not coming back. Remember, he even mentioned this, that he pretty much told them, after, a short time, that he had no interest in coming back. So they knew he wasn't going to sign to pick up another year very early into the run. And so they planned to do that special there. Now, starting Jodie off on a holiday special, I think would have been a big fat mistake. I really didn't see it working, so I can understand why. Plus, look at how long we did have to wait until we got the first series with Jodie. It wasn't until October of that following year. Plus, I know Doctor Who fans out there are losing it, but at the same time, keep in mind, ratings were starting to slide downward. And even though if you don't like Series 11, or you don't like the way Chris Chibnall's taken the show, or the fact that I don't think he had anything to do with the episode reduction. I really don't. I'm beginning to think if that was a budgetary issue. And how do all you folks come in, by the way? They had to do something radical. You could not have just brought on another typical white male Caucasian English doctor at that point. Not when you're walking out of the season 10, which really upset me because I loved Peter Capaldi. I loved Series 10. I really did. And we can't fault any of that, Series 10 or Peter Capaldi, for the fact that number it hit the bottom. Because when you go look at the charts, that the number had been steadily dropping since Matt Smith took over, or the Moffat Smith regime. It was just a little bit here and there, and then when Smith left, it just went boom. Because a lot of people, like I said, there was the same reaction, but not halfway as bad when Peter Capaldi took over, because can remember everybody, he's too old. Exactly. Classic Who never had any Christmas specials. Just like when you had all those channels out there poised for when, the Emmy nominations came out and then Doctor Who didn't get any. And they're like, this proves to us that Doctor Who doth suck and should not continue. And I'm like, then the show doth suck since 1963, because Doctor Who in its 56-year history has never had an Emmy nomination. So what's the difference? Plus, somebody was trying to hold the Pating paradox. Remember that one? Up as the Sarunga conundrum, aka the Pating paradox. That's what I called it. Somebody was holding that up as the worst episode of Doctor Who ever. And I'm like, don't you remember? Let's scroll back a little bit here. All right, just to name a few: Fear Her, Love and Monsters, Curse of the Black Spot, In the Forest of the Shite, Journey into the Center of My Disappointment, aka Journey into the Center of the TARDIS. Just to name a few off the top of my head. And also, let's go back into the classic series, Delta and the Bannermen. Oh, I've grown a bit fond of it. It's become a guilty pleasure now. But yeah, the Twin Dilemma. Oh, man, screw me running. Time Lash. Yes, right there's one that the devil doesn't even want to wipe his ass with. My God. Oh, Time Lash just ranked. Especially, anybody remember that scene where they got Perry chained up in the cave, and then here comes the Morlock, and it looks disturbingly like, all right, if you've got young ears, but it looked like a penis. It did. It looked like a giant penis coming at her. It even had foreskin. So forgive my very vivid description, but if you ever find that picture, I do have it on the system somewhere here. It's just one I still like to put up and laugh my ass off at. Like, what the hell were they thinking? Why didn't anyone see this? Mary Whitehouse would have been spinning in her grave. No, you can't crack on Return to Dr. Mysterio. I'm sorry. I love the Return to Dr. Mysterio. For once, they did a holiday special that didn't focus solely on the holiday. Plus, I thought it was a nice tribute to comic book movies and all that in general, and I enjoyed the story. Oh, I love the Mask of Mandragora, you bastard. Also, that was a milestone because Mask of Mandragora was the last serial they used the original TARDIS prop on. The original police box prop. Because it literally got to that point and started falling apart. All right, trivia question. Anybody, just for shits and giggles. Does anyone remember the name of the serial that was the last serial for the original TARDIS console? The original TARDIS console made it all the way to this serial. Anyone know which one it was? If you've been watching this channel, you should know what it is. Come on. Very good. Inferno. Yep. Actually, no. Everything I've read said Mask of Mandragora. So we'll have to fight over that later. Pistols at Dawn. Or yeah, we'll have a slap fight, whatever. If you don't believe in guns, we'll just stand there in the center and go. Okay. Planet of Evil. Yeah, it did have some boring parts. And there's a lot of episodes I watched back in the day that when I come back to them, they do tend to be, because you've been spoiled to that less than an hour format. So it's like you go back later, it's like, wow, this episode's long. Like there were entire sections of, Invasion of Time that I would like. No. I think Mask was the first episode that the secondary console room was introduced. Because that's right, it was. And then they used that all the way through somewhere into Leela. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But the wooden console room, the Jules Verne one, or sorry, not the Jules Verne, the H.G. Wells one, I like to call it in my head, was introduced in Mask of Mandragora as the secondary console room. And sadly, like I said, if you've already heard this story, smack me on the head. But I'll have to go double check that because I really don't want to fight over it, but I could swear to God it was Mask of Mandragora was also the last one for that prop. But favorite classic story off the top of my head. Oh, shit. There's been so many. Okay. You'll probably recognize a few of these names. Like I said, the ones I'll just go with the ones I remember. William Hartnell would have to be like Dalek Invasion of Earth because that's the one because then again I liked Marco Polo. Let's see, Second Doctor would definitely be Tomb of the Cybermen because there was just a lot of great moments in that one. Third Doctor, damn, I loved a lot of the Third Doctor era, so that's hard to narrow down. Favorite Big Finish, yeah, now you're really narrowing it down because they're on what? They're well into the 200 and something part of that range now on the main range. I haven't even checked the numbers in a while. I've got to get caught up on it. Loved Remembrance of the Daleks. I don't blame you because that rumor started with a certain person. If I mention, I'll be threatened with legal action. Because last time I called this particular site, let's call it a random name like Outhouse Cairo. He's associated with that. Yeah, threatened me with legal action when I called him on his bullshit one year. It was 2018. And if you want to deny it, go ahead and call your lawyers, dude. I have a screen cap of the direct message you sent me on Twitter. I kept it. And then you quietly suddenly wanted to apologize after I broadcasted it to everybody. And I put it all over Facebook. I put it all over Twitter. I thought it was funny after that. Like I said, I have no ill will towards the guy. I just simply won't associate with him anymore because you're lower than scum. You tried to scare me into being quiet and it didn't work. But Time Flight. Oh, good. Okay. Now, like I said, there's some episodes where you break them down and you think about it. Now, sure, they've got to have suspension of disbelief. But Time Flight, let me get this straight. The Master has crash landed in the past, but he can somehow suck Concords into the past to get the attention of the Doctor. Either way, he was feeding the Seraphim, whatever. But still, when you sit there and think about it, it's like, why would he even be in a disguise if he didn't know the Doctor was coming? But hard to pick a favorite of the classic era because I love a lot of them. I don't like narrowing it down. Like I said, Tom Baker is the one I pretty much grew up on. But then we went into Pertwee, Hartnell, what little Troughton they had, they breezed through. Then they bounced, I think, back to Peter Davison. Then they ran through some Colin Baker. Yeah, Time Flight is shit. There's no, it's right up there with Time Lash. It was bad. Yeah, there were some good things in the Sea Devils. And because of the BBC censor division or whatever, they had to make them wear those fishnet outfits because they thought they looked too naked. The fishmen looked too naked. Oh, Spearhead, always a classic. Very good introductory episode for John Pertwee. Plus, I haven't got that Blu-ray set yet. I was meaning to order it. Silver Nemesis, yeah, I didn't really get into that much, to be honest with you. It was a little bit wacky. There were good points in it, but it was just really wacky. Here come the Nazis. Yep. Because it wasn't because of a strike or something. I'm just going off the brain noggin. That they shot it all on location and in film. I'm just going off there. Of course, introduction to Joe Grant and Terror of the Autons, which brought in the Master as well. And I like Carnival of Monsters. It has a charm to it. Sure, it won't be in there ever. Probably never be in the top 100, but Invisible Enemy, yes, introduced K9. Well, the first K9 of many. So it makes me wonder, I died laughing the other day. Somebody, I can't remember who put this up, but somebody said, do you think that the doctor, didn't build K9 Mark II? That's why he had so much problem with him. He ordered him from Kerblam. But Enemy of the World. Oh, damn good one, Enemy of the World. And they're going to be doing it again in Series 12 because one of these days I got to sit down before we get to the end of the year and put down what I think is what we know is true and what's rumor, because I want to sort that shit out right now. It was hard to believe that Philip Archer was once young. He is doted on this earth like the eminent sage that he is. Oh, okay. I know, having a little fun with you, Philip. Come on. What? You mean one of the actual holiday, the actual anniversary specials? Yeah, 3 doctors. There was 3 doctors, 5 doctors, which is still growing on me. And oh man, then God. Oh, dimensions in time. I still want to jab slap whoever the hell thought that was a good idea. Sure, it was great. At least it had doctors and companions in it. I got to give it that. Yeah, that was Dimensions in Time, 1993. 4 Doctors was good, yep. Matter of fact, The Light at the End, Big Finish's 50th anniversary, outing, I still say was far superior to that piece of shit we got on television. Error of the Zygons, a.k.a. Dump of the Doctor, a.k.a. Let's Undo the Time War. Legacy of Time was okay. It's just, I'm kind of burned out on River Song at this point. Well, 2 Doctors wasn't an anniversary special, but it's still a good one. I'm hearing that there's talks that the 60th anniversary special is already being planned now. And it's like, maybe it's because they don't want to wind up in the same pickle they did back in 2013. The problem is, like I said, 2013 was still kind of a turning point for me because it was after this that I began to find out things that made me ease up on Stephen Moffat. Because in 2016, and I just told this story to some friends of mine, I don't want to name names so nobody gets in trouble, all right? Because still things go on. But a friend of ours went to a convention in 2016, and they got the full-on, meet and greet dinner package and stuff like that. And they end up spending a lot of time talking to 2 of the classic companions. And they found out that Stephen Moffat told them he was approached by the BBC and said, no classic companions as one of the conditions for the 50th anniversary special. Plus, you had to look at the fact that he only had 1 actor who was already on contract at the beginning of 2013, and that was Jenna Coleman. Matt hadn't signed on the dotted line yet. Nobody else had, as far as anything else goes for the show. So he said even one concept he'd been working on just in case It could have been you wound up with a 50th anniversary special that revolved around Clara completely, because that's the only person he had. 14th Doctor, my theory, when it does happen, I still fully believe that Jodie Whittaker is going to be around, do 3 years and leave like everybody else. I do not see her leaving early. I don't know why everybody's been trying to throw that up. Maybe wishful thinking. But my personal belief, my opinion, this is my theory, my guess. If they bring in another doctor afterwards, they'll probably be male, but they will not be Caucasian. There'll be another ethnicity. Asian, black, or, who knows. But I do not think they'll be straight on, white Caucasian guy. I think they're going to continue with this theme that now that, you've had a woman doctor in there, we're going to really start knocking down some other barriers. Because the more you knock down those barriers, you widen your audience to bring them in. So I can see if they decide to go down that route and bring in somebody of a different ethnicity. So who knows? Okay, any other issues? I call 2013 for me. The Doctor Who Era of the Zygon special. I still refer to it as the 8th anniversary special. It was an okay thing at most, because when you analyze the Zygon subplot, I know I've done this a billion times, but let it sink in. Okay, you're the Zygons. Now remember, one of the most brilliant things about Zygons that were brought in Terror of the Zygons was the way they created that their shape-changing ability was limited. Because if you have an unlimited shape-changing ability, you've got an enemy there that's pretty much close to unbeatable. Because, in Era of the Zygons, aka Dump of the Doctor, whatever, you've got David Tennant interrogating a frickin' rabbit. That means you're telling me that a Zygon can go from anywhere down to a rabbit-sized. Does that mean there's also a limit on how big they can get? See what I mean? How it kind of falls apart? Also, the Zygons, in order to impersonate anyone, had to have the body print machine. And it's brilliantly explained that, they have to have a living copy of the person they're, imitating, so they have a fresh scan of them from second to second. That can go into their mind and they can hold the form. Now, when you take that away in Day of the Doctor, now you've got aliens that have unlimited shape-changing ability, have already gotten a foothold in the court of Elizabeth I, which is around 1550s. And now, because they don't like the accommodations, even though they're the most technologically advanced race on the planet, unlimited shape-changing ability, they want to go to the 21st century using a magic time bauble that you're never explained where it comes from. It just dropped into their lap, or maybe some great, sparkle dusting time fairy shat it into their lap one day. But it's never explained where it come from. It's what we call a MacGuffin device. And they want to go to the 21st century, where mankind now numbers in the billions, has far more technologically advanced, with superior firepower. And wait a minute. They said that the planet, their sun, was wiped out because of the Time War. I don't remember them mentioning where they got the cube from. I'll have to go back and double check that. It's been, like I said, the only parts of that special I watch are the 3 minutes with Tom Baker. Because the man, let's do some more labeling and we'll make it sound cute. The man who forgets, the man who regrets, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and by the way, here's the other one that still smacks me in the face. We're going to shoehorn in another doctor because we want John Hurt involved to sell theater tickets. That's basically one of the reasons they brought him in there. Yeah, he's a talented actor. He's one of them guys who can read the encyclopedia to you and you'd be there every minute of it. But why not Paul McGann? He's right there. He's open. He's available, and he wants to do it. I don't see Paul McGann being the War Doctor. No, you don't see Paul McGann selling frickin' theater tickets. That's all it was. Don't tell me anything else. Do not tell me Paul McGann was not a talented enough actor to pull off evil or, gone insane, whatever. Especially after we've heard his performances in Zagreus, Lucy Miller, and all those in Big Finish. Also, oh God, there was another one that's on top of my mind. Here's the one I still cannot believe people think is funny. Remember when they're going into the Black Archive and you've got that guard sitting outside and he's all nervous, claiming it's his like second day or first day or something like that? Anybody remember him? Why do they think it's funny that they've erased how many years of this guy's memory? What's going to happen when this guy effectively is done with his unit career? Now, people accuse me of overthinking this, but how can you not think of this? Doesn't this guy have a family, a life of his own? What's he going to do? Go into the retirement home thinking he spent 2 days guarding a frickin' door? It's, to me, that's just very inhumane when you sit down and think about it clearly. But it's one of them little moments in there that everybody goes, ha, 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 it's so funny. He's actually been here such and such many years. And I'm sitting there, that's one of the things that caught me. I'm like, how could they think this is funny? When you put it in human terms, you see how exactly it's not funny when you think about it. Even though you're never going to see that character again, you got to think, if that was, it's what I mean. It's like he's lost how many years of his life and he thinks he's been at that place only a couple of years. Oh, man. Yeah, Paul could have easily been the War Doctor, hands down. He's an incredibly talented actor. Go look at some of the other stuff he's done beyond Doctor Who. Like, how many here watch Ripper Street? He played a guy named Stanley Bone in one episode. I think it was second season. I can't remember off the top of my head. No, the sad part is we were hoping it was Omega. Because to me, if I'd been writing that season, this is what would have happened. Now remember, you've got Flesh Amy running around even when they're outside this freaking time-space continuum. The fact that anybody's controlling a signal that goes into a TARDIS, right there, it's got to be a Time Lord that would have access to that technology to do the flesh thing anyway. My theory is, why don't you just say this? The cracks in time in Series 5 were there because in order for Omega to come back out of the antimatter universe, he had to literally crack this universe open to get back in. And then he uses the discharge of energy from the collapsing suns to revert his body back to matter. Boom. Then you've got a setup for that following year for the big bad guy who comes back. But no, we've got this cheap shit, Big Bang crap, which I enjoy the Big Bang. Don't get me wrong, Big Bang 2, whatever it is, and all that. But still, it could have been so much better with a classic villain like Omega. Same thing with Demon's Run and all that shit. Because you're telling me that a bunch of jumped up priests had the technology to control a Flesh Amy. By the way, remember anybody? Doctor's wife? The TARDIS was outside the known universe, yet they're still beaming a signal to Amy's flesh counterpart in a TARDIS? I don't think so. Just the fact that humans developed time technology by the 51st century just weirds me out. But at the same time, they could have gotten it from any other race. But, oh, man. Oh, I know. People accuse me of overthinking this shit. But it's like, come on. Just use some common sense. I wish to God, I'm sorry, forgive me, Shelley, but I got to bring this up. that people kept bringing up politics in order to ruin Series 11 for everybody else. There was plenty about Series 11 that could ruin it without it being political. But at the same time, there was a lot of great moments in there. I'm tired of the words, they are forcing politics down our throat. They didn't. Not any more than they have in the last 56 years. I'm tired of the word, the acronym SJW. It's called the battle cry of the, what do you call it, deflated weenie. Oh, thanks for listening, because like I said, I can't fault the crew if anybody, because they're not getting paid. It's all done for free. As for the voice acting's all done for free. So, and all you guys are in there right now, like Philip's here right now. Philip plays Sparks, aka Sylvester Troughton, the comm officer. And he always does a pretty good job. I always enjoy editing his stuff. Yeah, but how are they forcing politics down your throat, Shelley? Tell me how they're doing it. Are they showing up to your house and holding you down and going, no, they're not. If you go back and look at Doctor Who, like just the name, like Planet of the Giants, first Doctor episode, it's talking about insecticides, the ecosystem, all that. No one was running around saying William Hartnell was forcing a political and or ecological opinion on them. Oh, thanks for the compliments. Yeah. Especially on the writing for Dr. Freedom Eric, because I'll take whatever I can get. That we don't get a lot of views on those, but the main reason I do them is because it gives me a chance to, get some creative writing done that I haven't done in a long time. Also, it helps me, do something creative other than just make videos about news, things like that. So, and also I get to do this with my friends, and, they seem to be enjoying themselves. I always try to make sure every character has a part in the story. It's not just me going around solving crimes like Scooby frickin' Doo. It's like that. It's like I want to make sure everybody gets in there and gets a piece of it. Hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. The problem is they've got the language filter on this thing set to so strict. I think if you even say "but," it throws a fit. So, mechanoids, like I said, it's been a long time since I, sat down and my problem is with lost episodes is this: I can't do telesnaps. I can't do it. I've tried listening to episodes and telesnaps. This is what happens when I watch a classic Who episode done in telesnaps. For some reason, I can't do it. See, there you go. You can't say ass without it going crazy. I do not see a damn difference. I don't know what the big deal is. You tell me what political opinion they're trying to shove down your face. When is Doctor Who not made of, like I said, someone went on about what's his name in Trump and arachnids in the UK. And I'm like, dude, arachnids in the UK had a lot more problems than that. That to me is the worst episode of Series 11. Because let's get to this point, shall we? Yeah. Very sorry, but my allergies are getting weird today. She's jumping on Chris Noth's character because he's going to shoot the big spider in the gymnasium. I think it was a gymnasium. I'm going off the top of my brain box here, or the big room. And yet their plan, the doctor and her companions, is to get all these spiders off into this room and seal it off and wait for them to die. Wait a minute. Okay, you see what I mean? No, the reason why they suspended UNIT before anybody freaks out, they didn't disband UNIT. You'll notice that. If they disbanded UNIT, I'd be there with you going, what the hell? All right, I'd be really pissed off. So this is what happened. Everybody, every single freaking time something goes wrong on Earth and the doctor shows up, everybody's got to ask the following questions. Where was Torchwood? Where is Unit? So this time, well, we know Torchwood is pretty much disbanded by this point. But everybody would have been, with all this going on with the Dalek, where's Unit? And so it was just a clever way to get Unit out of the picture. That's all it was. Pending a financial review, which means Unit is being audited. There was no mention of Brexit. So I don't know why everybody took it as a Brexit slam. Like everybody was going on about the Trump joke and arachnids. And I'm like, dude, there was a lot more with arachnids than a Trump joke. Just the whole philosophy of that one section was wrong. Sure, there was a lot of cute scenes, but that part where I'd rather send the spiders off to be suffocated to death than I don't know where he got that from. It may have been one of the things, but that's not the way I took it. Trust me, you've got a lot more problems with Brexit than Unit. Okay, and I don't even live over there. But it seems to me like a lot of people just want to sit back and find things wrong. And instead of focusing on the things that are right, instead of finding things you don't like, find the things you like. That's all I do. It's the classic cup half full, or glass half full, half empty, thing. That's all it is. And there's a lot of people there who don't want to like this series. And there was a lot of people that didn't want to see it succeed. And it all started literally, I'm not kidding, the minute they announced Jodie. I'm not kidding. They were all shitting britches. And now it's going to bomb anyway. And then it comes out and gets 2.5 million more average viewers than the past series. But as I said before, even if you didn't like Series 11, it brought a lot of much needed attention back to the show. The ratings went up. Coverage went back up. People came back to the series because at the end of Series 10, you were at 5.5 million viewers for your average rating for the series. And I love how everybody has to skew the number for Series 11. They always come up with all these technicalities as to why it don't count because it aired on a different day. It didn't have as many episodes. I go, yeah, but it didn't play it safe either and bomb. Some things had to change. And like I said, I would have loved Peter to hang around for another year. I really would have. But as I loved Peter Capaldi. No, this is what happened. The ratings went down. People are counting Resolution. And the thing is, remember, Resolution aired on New Year's Day 2020. And it got 5.57 million viewers. But what everybody's throwing out is it was the second most watched program on New Year's Day. Anyone remember who came in first on New Year's Day this year? Luther. It was a new thing of Luther where Idris Elba had come back to the role after a certain amount of time. So, exactly, it was Luther. So, coming in second to Luther is not that bad. But, matter of fact, even, the Queen, by the way, someone mentioned, but it wasn't anywhere near there. The Queen's speech barely made 6 million viewers on Christmas Day last year. That kind of gives you an indication of what's going on Christmas Day. I keep telling people the problem with putting Doctor Who on Christmas Day And trust me, I always looked forward to it every year, and I do miss it being there. But the problem is you get buried on Christmas Day between Mrs. Brown's Boys, yada, yada streets, blah, blah, this. And all right, which one is this? The Irish guy or Eddie? Trust me, if you haven't made enemies on YouTube, trust me, I think sooner or later, tell them to go right ahead. If you're watching, I get free legal through my union. Can you spell continuance? And go right ahead and try filing a lawsuit on my opinion in a U.S. court of law, where we have a little thing called the Constitution, which guarantees anyone's right to free speech. Like I said, I have nothing against the guy, but I honestly think he's being misfed. I think he's being fed misinformation. And I've even tried to tell him this repeatedly. Dude, there's not going to be a Christmas special this year. There's not going to be one next year where Jodie leaves. I don't know where you got that from. From what I was told, as far as I know, and like I said, this comes from a pretty good source, that she signed for series 11, 12, and 13, which is the first time that's happened since the history of the new show began. Because every other doctor up to her had signed a 1 year with an option to pick up. I know. I haven't had any good rants from the fandom lately to really put up. Hey, Shelley, you're giving away the plot from my own series. Yeah, and it turned out that it didn't happen. And that's why a lot of people were really pissed off. They were in the street. They're about to go marching into the streets going, ha, 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 we knew it was going to suck. And okay, here's the thing. Now that I remember it. One of my favorite ones. It's okay. I'm just joking with you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, Shelley. I'm just messing with you. One of the things that a lot of them were bringing up, and this is what had me laughing my ass off, was the show has lost over around 4 million viewers from episodes, the premiere episode to the last one of the season. And I'm like, Eccleston lost just over 4 million in 2005. Does that mean we should have canceled it then? Now, when Series 2 comes out, I really don't see it breaking any records or anything like that. I don't see it hitting the 11 million mark for the premiere, as much as I'd like it to, because to, rub it in some folks' faces. But realistically, we have to look at the fact that, they've given the great hate movement over a year to go out and whisper in everybody's ears, how could you enjoy that? It sucked. Come over here. If you want to sit at the big boys table, you better not like that. Plus, one of my favorite ones, and sadly it came from a Nazi. The bigger the lie, and the more often you repeat it, the more people are likely to believe it. And you've got a bunch of disgruntled people going to these YouTube channels where they're sitting there screaming on about how the show is a ratings failure. It did this and blah, blah, blah. It failed in essence and blah, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, I was on a podcast with one of these guys, and he's going on about how the show is bleeding viewers. And I'm sitting there trying to remain calm. And I'm like, How is show bleeding viewers when it put 2.5 million more on the average than the previous season? How could you honestly make that statement? Plus, you had another guy who's named after a liquor he's probably not old enough to drink running around out there, and then he gets put into an interview with another fella. The guy just happens to know all the numbers and makes him look like an ass, and then, it was a hit piece. I was set up. Oh, God. Here's the thing. Whether the doctor be female, male, a dog, a cat, whatever, I stand by the doctor and always have. And some people just seem to have lost this message for some reason. As I said in my one rant, Peter Capaldi left us with the words, always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind. And a lot of people just, it's washed over their backs like water off a duck's ass. Never be cruel or cowardly. Apparently that's gone out the window. Or just plain be kind, you know? Okay, I'm leaving right now in the rumor side. Now, for a fact, we know the Jodie are coming back. For a fact, based on images, yeah, never eat pears. For a fact, we know the Cybermen are back because we now have photos of the guys in the suits with the handlebar helmets. That's a fact. For a fact, we do know they're doing an episode, I think, about that one lady in the French resistance. Or goes over and becomes her, or whatever. I can't remember. I don't have it off the top of my head. My notes are buried in a file right now. Because we've seen the images that were taken off Instagram, and she even had that little thing inside her clothes saying the name of the character and all that. So we know that's fact. Rumor, Florence Nightingale. Rumor, Sea Devils. Rumor, Sacha Dhawan coming in as the Master. We're going to leave that in the rumor pile. Because after the big blow up, we'll call it, or the alleged blow up, I had to sit down and seriously go, okay, who's hearing what from where? Because a lot of the people who are sending me accurate information suddenly start sending me this weird stuff, and I still think that somebody is feeding them misinformation to try to sort out leakers. So, hey, I'm not ill-willing anybody. It's the nature of the beast. That's how it is these days. Just like I said, they got those guys out there at Game of Thrones who are basically paid to sit out there with this little thing that looked like a radar gun from the 60s or from the 70s and 80s. You know, the old style radar gun. And all they had to do was sit there and watch for drones that were trying to catch filming. And they'd point this thing at it, pull a trigger, drone falls on the ground. And they're kind of doing the same thing online. It's just some of the practices they're using got really freaking silly in Series 11. Like, I have never once had a video taken down for still images, and it happened last year. And it wasn't even like pictures of the Bating or anything like that. It was just a bunch of guest actors. Ugh. I have not caught up to my Big Finish yet. I was re-listening to the Dark Tower books because every now and then, every, like, say 4 or 5 years, this little spark kicks on in my head, goes, go listen to the Dark Tower series again. Even though I know how it's going to end, and the ending I hate to say it, I love Stephen King to death, but I agree with a lot of folks. The ending of the Dark Tower series was kind of shit. That's just me, though. And I really wish to God they'd made it into the Lord of the Rings style movie, you know, that scale that Ron Howard wanted. Because they made that cheap piece of shit, and they wasted Idris Elba on it, and oh, man. Well, folks, it's coming up on about 50 minutes, and I want to go get some things done. I want to thank every one of you who've come in. I want to thank all of you for your questions. I really want to thank you all who are commenting on, Dr. Freedom and Eric, the audio series, because we put a lot into it. Because a lot of effort does go into it. These guys are, giving out their own time. And we're not making any money off Dr. Freedom and Eric. I tell you that right now. It's also, I'd like to put it on an audio site, but the problem is every single audio site now goes, we'll let you store so much, but then we're going to charge you money, or you've got to pay a monthly fee. And it's just the way I'm just barely keeping up on bills right now. And, I got 2 cons coming up this year that I was going to barely afford one. But then when they came in and said for Chicago TARDIS that they're bringing in Katie Manning, Louise Jameson, John Levine, Richard Franklin, and all these great names of people I've never met before, I'm like, oh, we've got to go. It's like, sure, I'll be probably living under a bridge, eating food out of a bag, but it's going to be my only opportunity to probably meet these people in life. People I very much grew up with and never have had a chance to meet. So, well, I'm going to take off, everybody. So please have a very safe and happy Labor Day weekend, because a lot of you haven't heard this story. Okay, I'll give you this one. This will take a couple of minutes. So if you want to hang on. I was on my way out of work last week, and there's 2 exits. The problem is now they've got both are one side of the building and the other leaving at the same time. And I turned onto the road and I'm heading towards home. Another guy's about to come out. He sits there. Another guy, and then he leaves. Now the guy behind him has decided for some reason he's going to hop in front of me instead of waiting the 30 seconds it would take me to go by. And at that point, there was no traffic behind me. This guy guns his engine, comes screaming out, and somehow or the other lost control and went right into the guy in front of him who just left. So that's what I mean. Whenever you're going to run into something, take a deep breath and think about it. Relax. Play it safe. Go spend time with your loved ones and take care, everybody, okay? Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention there's a hurricane on the way in, and I got a lot of people down there now that I know. So please be thinking of them this weekend, okay? Y'all stay safe down there in Florida. All right, I'm getting out of here before I get too mushy. Good night.